We're going to do what's called a basting stitch. A basting stitch is a temporary stitch. What we need to do is we need to turn our sewing machine dial to stitch length number 4. So put that on number 4, and then we're going to sew right in the middle of the seams on both sides. So we're going to go down about 4 inches. So I'm going to load it into the sewing machine, and we're going to be doing all the seams. What we're trying to do is we need to temporarily sew all the seams open, all the seam allowances open. Oops. Why is that not moving? Do not reverse in the beginning of the end. Excuse me. For the basting stitch. All right, you're going to stop. Take it out. So see how large those stitches are? We want to be able to take them out after we finish the part where the elastic is going to go in. So we're going to go down all 4 sides. You're going to have to start down a little bit lower on these. And make sure when you're sewing that you don't have the bottom of the bag tucked up under your presser foot. You're only sewing one part of each seam at a time. Take it out. So you're going down the center of the seam allowance. This is going to be really helpful later. We're going to be taking these stitches out in the very end, so you won't see them. They're just a temporary stitch. That's what a basting stitch is. All right, take it out. I've got all 4 sides sewn. Make sure that you put the sewing machine back on stitch length number 2. Take that off. All right, let's go back over to the I've trimmed off the hanging threads from the basting stitch. And right now what I like to do is I just like to cut the top of this a little because I think these are older patterns and they're a little high-waisted. So I just trim the top a little bit. And I even it up. So I will help you guys cut the top of your pants for you. So now what you need to do is, we're going to go over to the iron, we're going to fold it 1/4 of an inch and iron this edge, and we're going to fold it 1.5 inches. Yes, 1/4 and 1.5. And we're going to iron it all the way around, and then we're going to pin this edge like this, all the way around. So let's go to the ironing board. Borrow this ruler. Okay, you're going to fold it down 1/4 of an inch. All the way around the top edge. Keep turning the pants. 1.5 inches. Keep turning the pants. Keep making sure your measurements are accurate because you have to put a 1-inch piece of elastic through this. And we have to make sure that this is what's called, we're now making the casing. The casing is the little tunnel that elastic or a drawstring would get put through. So we're making the casing of your pajama pants. Okay, that should be all the way around. Oh, and now we're going to pin the edge. Make sure you pin, hold the pants, and you pin along this edge and up. I want to make sure that you're pinning this part underneath. That has to be caught by the pin. And you're going to pin all the way around. Okay, we've pinned all the way around. And now I'm going to get the tag and I'm going to change my thread out to a black to match because now you're going to see the thread when I sew the casing. So we need to put the tag into the pants. So come to me and I will help you decipher which side is where the tag is going to go. All right, this side. So we're going to fold it, fold it, fold it. Scooch it under here. And we just put the tag in that you know that this is the back side of the pants. And you know where the front is. Okay, so that's our tag. We're going to load the pants up into the, we're going to open them up. Remember, don't sew both sides together. We're only sewing one edge. Line up the presser foot. Actually, you're not really lining up the presser foot. The needle needs to be sewing right along the edge of this fabric. So you're not really lining the presser foot up to anything. You just have to make sure you sew right along this edge almost all the way around. So I'm going to take this pin off, make sure the tag stays in place. I'm going to start on this side of the tag. I'm going to go forward 5, forward 5, reverse 5. I might need to help the presser foot over the tag because it's a little bit thick here. Now you're going to keep sewing along this bottom edge. Remember, you have to keep it nice and flat and as close to the edge as possible because we're going to have to be able to put a 1-inch elastic through the casing. We're going to go almost all the way around. We're going to leave about a 2-inch opening so we can feed the elastic in. Take your pins out. Make sure you keep rotating the fabric around the base of the sewing machine. Just keep it nice and flat. Okay, so we're almost to the tag. I'm going to stop about here. Here's where I started, so there's about 2-inch space. I'm going to reverse just a little bit and go forward. I'm going to take out the needle. I'm going to cut. Now I'm going to go around the top edge of the casing. The same way I did along the bottom edge, but around the top. But this time you're going to go all the way around the top. This gives a nice finished look to your pajama pants. And again, the needle is right here along the edge. So you barely have any fabric that you're sewing to. Go forward, reverse, go forward. So the pins are out now. I would go a lot slower than this. I'm just doing it for demonstration purposes. So I'm back to where I started. Meet up, reverse, go forward, take your fabric out. Now you're going to take your elastic, you're going to put a safety pin through one end, and I want you to attach it temporarily to the tag. So when you're going around the casing with your elastic, this part doesn't scooch in with you. All right, you're going to take the pin on the other side of the elastic and put it through. And remember, just like we did on our drawstring bags, we're now going to feed the safety pin through the casing. So we're going to put it in. It's kind of hard to get it started. All right, so I'm just going to hold a safety pin on the top to show you what I'm doing on the inside. So right now, this is where my safety pin is. The safety pin on the inside is exactly in the same position. I'm going to hold the safety pin with the back end of the safety pin with my right hand. I'm going to scooch the fabric over top of the front of the safety pin with my left hand. And when I can't bunch any more fabric over top, I'm going to hold the front of the safety pin, let go of the back side, and then pull. And I'm going to scooch, scooch, scooch. And I'm going to pull. And I'm going to scooch, scooch, scooch. And I'm going to pull. So I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to just continue. So by doing the temporary basting stitch, this helps when you're going around the casing with your elastic, that it smoothly passes and doesn't get caught up along the seams and the seam allowance. And once we put the elastic all the way around, make sure you don't twist the elastic, that's really key. Once we put the elastic all the way around and sew the elastic in place, we're then going to remove all the basting stitches. All right, I can feel it twisting. Keep it nice and flat. Be really careful not to open up your safety pin while it's in place, because that's a problem. Over the pin and kind of pull the elastics, pulling the elastic through. So see how important it is that you sewed this properly? Now the elastic is going through this space, so if you didn't keep your thread along the outer edges, you might not be able to pass your elastic through. Alright, we're coming back around. I'm bringing my pin out where I went in on the other side. Make sure it's still attached. Pull the elastic out. Alright, so I'm going to make sure some of this gets back in. I'm going to lay this down and make sure that I didn't twist it because it's feeling a little bit twisted. Okay, I think we're good. So now I have to take the two pins off. What I'm going to do is I need to overlap them. So this is flat this way, and this is flat this way. Alright, and have me check this. You're going to overlap about 1.5 inches and make sure these edges are nice and flat. You're going to lay it on the sewing machine, and you're going to sew a rectangle. Keep these nice and even. It doesn't matter what this looks like, just as long as the edges are nice and even. Make sure you don't sew this part underneath. Keep it nice and flat. Pivot and turn. Over the double stitches. So I will cut my threads, cut Cut your threads. And now I'm going to let the elastic retract inside the pants. And then what we have to do is once you get your elastic back in, we need to sew up the little hole that we left for the elastic to go through. So put that back, and you'll kind of overlap your stitches a little bit. Remember to go forward 5, back 5, forward, and you're going to come to where you ended, in reverse, forward, take this out, cut your threads. And at this point, what you'll do is you're going to take your seam ripper and you're going to remove the basting stitches. You're going to do that on all 4 sides. So take your time and just remove all the threads and discard them. Okay, next we're going to do the hem. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim the edges a little bit for you, but you need to come to me so we can decide how short we need to make these. So I'm going to trim the bottoms up just to straighten them off. So they're nice and even along the edge. And then we're going to determine what your hem is. You're going to press open the seams on the bottom edge of your pants, just a little bit. So the 2 seams, this one's already open because we did that before. Let's open up this one. It's going to make, when you do your hem, a lot easier when your seams are open. So we'll determine what folds that we need to make according to what size you are. So for these pants, I'm going to fold 1/4 inch and then 1/2 inch to make my hem. So I will fold, I'm just going to wet it all a little bit on both sides. Fold 1/4 inch. I don't want a big hem on these. We'll wear these a little baggy. So about 1/4 inch. Flip them over, press the other side. And then we're going to do about 1/2 inch. Press the other side, fold it. Pin it. We'll just pin it so it's tacked in place and it doesn't shift when we sew. Start at one of the seams, and again, you're going to be sewing right along this edge of the fold. Make sure the bottom of the pants, it's nice and flat, and you've only got one side of the pants, otherwise you're going to have you're going to have pajamas that are a pillow. Reverse, go forward. Keep rotating it around, keeping it nice and flat. your pins out as you go.
Oh.
And you're going to go all the way around on both sides. We're coming up to where we started. You're going to reverse, go forward, lift up, and now you're going to do the other leg. I like to start at a seam, load it back up. You're sewing right along the edge. Keep your pants nice and flat. Reverse, forward. Take your pins out as you go. Back where you started, remember to reverse, take it out, lift up your presser foot. Okay, you're going to put your pajamas right side out. You're going to trim up all your loose threads. And you're going to find your tag, and voila. Pajamas.